22% of startup founders have a background in sales. So what does that mean? They're out there, they're doing their thing. They've got their own way of doing it. And then sometimes you even document it and you want people to sell the way that you sell. You're a founder. The amount of conversations I have to have with founders where I'm like, look, the best you're ever going to get is someone who's 80% as good as you. 80%, right? And if we get there, like, we're doing fantastic. And also a founder can talk about their vision and their strategy and all this, but a new sales rep or even your first VP, they can't really talk about that, right? So if you're out there and you're wondering why it's not working, right? And then again, kind of couple that with this 50% of founders have had previous startup, 22% have a background in sales. You can easily see why it is difficult for companies early on to build out their first playbook. And the interesting part about this stat is focused on very much the founders. It's also the same as a sales leader. Very few sales leaders have had to build from scratch a playbook. And so again, they are also used to executing. Now, for me, I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. So I was in sales for 2.5 years in sports, left to go to Career Builder. At Career Builder, I learned a process. I moved to leadership quickly, got put through leadership development, and I learned the science of sales. And so I had a very regimented, dictated process that helped to make my team some of the top performing teams in the company. And then when I went to a startup, Glassdoor, I was able to pick up my process and execute it. A lot of sales leaders at bigger companies just kind of go through things with like being, unconsciously competent is, I think, the vernacular. So for anyone out there, I want you to just think about that it's not that it's not like it's impossible to do, but many times you're just not qualified to do it. And that's okay. That's fine, right? But again, a playbook can help. Again, people want to know why salespeople fail out so early. It's because we don't document the playbook. Okay, next up, the other reason I see for early stage failing to scale details is I call it the good old, do I call it the good old Messiah? I do call it the Messiah hire, which is that what we try to do is we say, you know what we need to do? You know what? So, hey, I know these stats. I'm a founder. I've never done this before. So then you say, you know what I'm going to do? Hire a VP of sales. I'm going to go hire a VP of sales, which, by the way, remember what I'd said before. Most VPs of sales have not built a sales playbook from the ground up. Not that they just don't have that documented process. Maybe they came from a company that had a really strong sales playbook. So it's fine. Like, again, when I went and built my first, I didn't have the experience, but I was very regimented in how I thought about the sales process. So it was very easy for me to replicate it. And so that's the things that, when you're thinking about interviewing and why, and take a look at this stat. People ask me, Jake, why did you start your own company? Right? Why did you do this? And it's because of this stat that the average tenure of a VP of sales at a startup is 16 to 24 months. Like, I almost made it to the 20. I almost made it there with my first jump. And a part of this is just the things that you need change. And so again, when you think about this concept of a playbook, right, which is it's a playbook to me is a combination of a couple different topics. It is the process. What are the steps that happen? What are the things that need to happen in between each steps to then move to the next steps, the exit criteria or entry criteria, whatever you want to call it, right? Reports and dashboards so we can optimize the process. And it's also the content. How do I show up in the discovery process? How do I show up whenever I position strategically what we do? How do I show up when I present a proposal or demo or whatever it looks like? So again, where this goes wrong is, one, sometimes founders try to do it on their own, or two, we think we can outsource it and we don't know what to do in terms of, and again, just like if you don't know how to write code, that's fine. You don't need to go teach yourself to code, right? You can go find someone who might do that. But again, the concept that you're going to hire a Messiah, this VP of sales, who's going to figure everything out for you, is a complete insanity, right? You're still going to have to work with that person. You're going to need to help to shepherd them, etc.